Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Here on Ring IQ, we like to search and seek out new talent and new faces, unbeaten up-and-comers that look to make a splash in the sport of boxing.
And our search brings us to the Dominican Republic,
where an unbeaten featherweight that goes by the name Vivian Rodriguez is making waves. Vivian Rodriguez, who sports a professional record of 6 wins with no losses, no draws, 3 knockouts, having debuted as a professional in February of last year. She actually fought 6 times last year, and she has yet to fight this one. Word round the campfire is they're getting her back out there in August. Tune-up fight.
But what is a tune-up fight?
So how did I find out about this fighter, you ask? Well, I wanted to review Diana Vargas's first professional loss. The Diana Vargas that's going to be fighting Sky Nicholson very soon on the undercard of Ennis versus Evanesian. And in reviewing that fight,
the Vargas versus Rodriguez fight,
I wondered. Diana Vargas is a very strong puncher, a devastating puncher, but she does have one professional loss. So let's find out more about the woman that beat her. And I was pleased. I was pleasantly surprised
with what I saw.
Vivian Rodriguez ranks in at number 3 in the last set of updated rank standings via the WBA in the featherweight division. Featherweight, that's where Amanda Serrano reigns as that division's Unified Ring Magazine champion, and that is where Sky Nicholson reigns as WBC champion.
That's where Vivian campaigns.
Vivian Rodriguez, whose base style is somewhere in between the pure boxer and the boxer puncher. She's got the pure boxer's fundamentals and propensity for defense, but she's got the boxer puncher's spite. She didn't run from Diana Vargas in spite of Diana's power. She took it to her.
Landed a lot of right hands over the top.
Which is what stood out to me about Vivian, that even though she's stepping into her jab to bring over the right, she's managing the distance very well, just staying on the outside just enough to stay out of the way of Diana's punches, but bringing over that right.
And landing that right with consistency.
With spite, setting up the right, countering with the right.
She couldn't miss her.
And the fact that she was holding her position, maintaining the distance while she did it, then coming forward instead of scurrying away, instead of running from the power puncher.
No, she didn't run.
Vivian has good physical dimensions for a featherweight. Long and limber with long levers, long extremities that allow her to manage the distance.
Only 20 years old.
Distinct possibilities for a fighter with a frame like this at 126, at 130, as high as 135, I'd say.
I think she'd cap out at 135, maybe 140.
The relevance of the story. Vivian is very close via the WBA to fighting for the WBA title, but the WBA champion, Amanda Serrano, is moving up in weight. She's up there at 140. She's about to fight Stevie Morgan, then Katie Taylor after that. And irrespective of what happens up there with Amanda, I don't think she's coming back down.
Why would she? She's been making fantastic money from endorsements and sponsorships, not even counting her fight purses and not even counting what she stands to make with Katie Taylor later on this year.
So when you think about that, and you think about where Vivian is in the WBA's rank standings, it's conceivable that we may be looking at the next WBA featherweight champion. Surveying what she did to a then unbeaten Diana Vargas, 16-0 at the time. She was 16-0, whereas Vivian only had 3 professional fights.
That's it.
Adding to what impressed me so much about Vivian is she had less than a handful of fights when she took Diana to school. Diana had more fights, more rounds in the bank, more experience under the hot lights, but you never would have known it if you saw the fight. So there are distinct possibilities for the Dominican Republic's Vivian Rodriguez, who I'm told will be fighting again in August.
I look forward to seeing more from this fighter, what could soon be WBA champion.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, in the men's super lightweight division, after upsetting Matias, Paro declares he is the captain of the junior welterweights / super lightweights.
Just say 140 pounders.
Paro credited life's tough blows for his ability to effortlessly roll with the punches of one of boxing's most feared power punching title holders, Matias. the 28-year-old Australian won the IBF title by unanimous decision at the Coliseo Juan Aubin Cruz Abreu en Manatí, Puerto Rico. Paro may have become a star overnight with his victory over Matias, who had developed a cult following thanks to his frightening power. The usually high-volume puncher Matias was unable to let his hands go during the fight.
Why?
It was Liam Paro's approach, the textbook approach to dealing with an aggressive mid-range to inside volume puncher pressure fighter. You can't spend all night running from a pressure fighter. You have to assert yourself in spots, fight him off in spots, and back off in spots.
It takes a balance of the two.
Because if you just run, the pressure fighter's going to gain momentum by walking you down. But if you spend too much time in the pocket, you're giving him what he wants. He doesn't have to chase you. He doesn't have to find you. So you have to alternate. I've been through hell and back in life. I've had a harder fight mentally than that, Paro said after the victory. I keep proving everyone wrong, and I just took the biggest test, man, and came out on top. Paro complimented Matias and the Puerto Rican fans, noting the loud and rambunctious fight atmosphere. He praised Matias as both a champion and a puncher. I knew it was going to be hard. Matias is a tremendous champion, Paro said. That's my hardest fight to date. He's a tough man. He hits hard. You know, he's got 20 knockouts for a reason. I knew it was going to be hostile coming in to the Lion's Den.
A lot of people wouldn't have signed up for that.
It needs to be said. Fighting the Puerto Rican champion on the island of Puerto Rico, the Puerto Rican champion who's got a hell of a knockout percentage. He's actually killed a man before.
You signed up for this?
Willingly. They didn't have to twist your arm or nothing. I knew it was going to be hostile coming into the Lion's Den, Paro said. But I always said it is going to be a better chapter in the book when it's all said and done. With the win, Paro is now targeting all the top names at junior welterweight. Richardson Hitchens recently defeated Gustavo Limos, quote-unquote defeated, to become the IBF mandatory challenger. Current title holders include Isaac Cruz, Alberto Puello, WBA interim champion Alberto Puello, Devin Haney, who's going to take the rest of the year off, and Teofimo Lopez, who's fighting Steve Claggett.
Huh?
I've proved that I'm at the top here, Paro said. I just took out the boogeyman. I am the man now. I am the captain. Come and get it. So, Liam Paro's mandatory challenger is Richardson Hitchens. And Richardson Hitchens seems more willing to fight for the IBF title now that Liam has it instead of when Subriel had it. When Subriel had it, it didn't look like he wanted to fight for the belt.
Now he does.
Does he have it in his head that Liam Paro is a walk in the park? That Liam is an easier fight than Subriel would have been? In truth, Liam has seen a fighter like Richardson Hitchens before. He saw a fighter like him before with that same base style in Montana Love, who he knocked out 2 fights ago.
He's got to fight Richardson Hitchens the way he fought him. He has to be aggressive, he has to take it to him, and he can't look to do him with a single punch, a single shot. He's got to be busy, busier than Richardson Hitchens.
Richardson Hitchens, a rather statuesque 140-pounder, long and limber, and staying behind his jab, a pure boxer. The key to beating the pure boxer is to be busy. Be busy, take chances, and throw punches and bunches, so that in the eyes of the judges, you're at minimum outworking the other guy while you try to cause him to wilt.
Pure boxers don't like pressure.
They don't like volume. Liam's experiences in the Montana Love fight will service him here against Richardson Hitchens if and when that fight gets made.
And he's got to get through it.
So what I love about the 140-pound division, more so than most other divisions, is it's anybody's fight on the night. Going into the Matias fight, Liam looked like a lamb to the slaughter.
At least people thought he was. Now look what he did. He's champion now. But he could lose it to Richardson Hitchens. If he fights the wrong fight, the title might change hands again.
So he's got to be switched on. He can't relax.
What did the Matias fight tell us?
That Liam Paro's durable. He's a lot more durable than some other fighters. As some other fighters, they can't go to distance with Matias. Shohan Ergashev didn't.
Jeremiah Ponce didn't.
The vast majority of fighters that have fought Subriel Matias were not able to go the distance with him. Liam Paro did because he is more durable than those fighters. And he fought the right fight.
I'd give him decent odds against Isaac Cruz.
WBA champion Isaac Cruz.
Because he's a pressure fighter like Matias is a pressure fighter. He's just smaller. A lot smaller.
If Liam makes it through the Hitchens fight, one unification match, at least one, that I think he can win, is the Isaac Cruz fight.
But it gets dicier when you start thinking about Teofimo Lopez.
I would say Devin Haney, but Devin Haney's not coming back to 140, and we all know it.
Liam wants the big names.
But I get the sense that the rest of his career is on the other side of the Richardson-Hitchens fight, and he has to be mindful of that fight. He can't be asleep at the wheel, and don't let it turn into a boxing match, because that favors Richardson-Hitchens. He wants to box. You need to fight.
The old saying goes, fight the boxer, box the fighter.
So if what Richardson-Hitchens wants is to win a boxing match, you've got to turn it into a fight.
A brawl.
Congratulations to Liam, but the work really has just begun.
I done shook up this world twice. It's to the point that they can't even give me Crawford. I'm like, yo, give me Crawford so I can make it thrice. You know, I need that thrice.
Come on.
Come on now. Like, you know, he could say all this and that in the third, but it's like, let's duke it out in the ring. Let's show the best who's the best.
Oh, so Teofimo's back to using Terrence Crawford's name to get people to talk about him so that he can help to draw attention to the Steve Claggett fight, the fight that nobody is talking about. Common sense is key. After the Errol Spence Jr. fight, everybody knew right then and there that they were both done at 147 pounds, the both of them, Errol and Terrence. And that was close to a year ago, right?
Right.
Teofimo, who was and still is at 140 pounds, he's just getting his feet wet there. I think he only had about 1 or 2 fights there.
But you know, you just got to 140. Everybody already knows Terrence is done at 147. He's been there for years. He's gonna move up.
He did move up. His next fight is at 154. He didn't have to do a bunch of interviews about it, a bunch of podcasts.
He didn't have to bump his gums as much as Teofimo bumps his gums.
I think Teofimo's a talented fighter, accomplished for one so young, but when he says he wants to fight Terrence, I don't believe him.
Why?
Because everybody knew after the Spence fight that Terrence was going to move up. Everybody, including Teofimo, but that's when he starts calling him out.
Knowing he's gonna move up.
And before the Israel Madrimov fight was officially announced by His Excellency Mr. Turki Al-Sheikh, I wondered, did Teofimo actually reach out to this guy and make him an offer? Because Teofimo's promoted by Top Rank. It's not like he's at liberty to fight on somebody else's platform. He isn't.
Did he make an offer to Terrence Crawford? You know the answer.
No.
He didn't.
See, after the Errol Spence Jr. fight, Terrence had to wait on Errol to make a decision. Was there going to be a rematch or not? Errol activated his rematch clause. Terrence wasn't at liberty to fight anybody else.
He was on the hook to fight Errol again, and that took up the rest of the year, last year, for Terrence, while Teofimo's calling him out.
That's why I don't believe him. That's why I think his call-outs are disingenuous. Earlier this year, it was decided that there would not be a Crawford versus Spence rematch. Terrence was free to go, free to move around and fight whoever he wanted to fight. And that whole time, did anybody at Top Rank on Teofimo's behalf, did they make Crawford an offer?
It's a simple question.
Did they make Crawford an offer for a Lopez fight? Because if they didn't, they're not serious about this, and neither are you.
This is not Vasyl Lomachenko. This is not Josh Taylor. Who do you think you're kidding? You think that because you beat those guys?
I think Teofimo's a great fighter. I do. But I also think Teofimo is limited. And we saw that in the Kambosos fight. We saw it again in the Sandor Martin fight. And we saw it more recently in his last fight with Jermaine Ortiz. A lot of people like to use the blanket term that he fights to the level of his competition.
To explain away some of his lackluster performances.
They say he fights to the level of his competition. A generic evaluation, a generic statement from those who don't know what they're looking at and don't understand. How do you go in there and look good with a Josh Taylor, but then turn around and look bad with a Jermaine Ortiz?
How do you look good with a Loma, but look bad with a Kambosos and a Martin and an Ortiz? How does that happen?
It's because Teofimo's a boxer puncher, a counter puncher, and he's not as good coming forward as he is hanging back. Any guy he has to go out there and chase, any guy he has to go out there and find, he struggles. And he would struggle with Terrence Crawford because Terrence is taller and Terrence is longer, punches harder.
Fights on the balls of his feet, switches stances.
Terrence Crawford does everything better than you do, Teofimo. Literally everything. better than you do, and he's many, many years older than you, but he's the kind of boxer you'll never be.
Ever.
Terence Crawford would never lose to the likes of George Kambosos.
That's embarrassing.
Get sat down not once, but twice by the likes of a Sandor Martin, who's not even that hard a puncher, but he sat you down 2 times.
He would never struggle with the people that you've struggled with.
For the reasons you struggled. He would never, because he's a better fighter than you.
Don't you think you're being a little bit harsh on Teofimo?
I'm just calling a spade a spade. I'm just giving it to you straight, because it's the only way I know how to give it to you. And if push comes to shove, and they made that fight, if Teofimo were actually serious about having it, he'd get taken to school, man.
Yeah.
He'd get taken to school, and then he'd get stopped.
You're not that guy, pal.
Then what is he doing? Why is he calling out Terence Crawford? If he knows he's booked, he knows he's moving up in weight, he knows, like everybody knows, Terence is otherwise preoccupied. Why is he calling him out?
Because he's preoccupied.
Boxing fans are idiots, you understand. Boxing fans are ignorant,
Petulant.
and downright lazy. The laziest fan of any kind in all of organized sports is the boxing fan. It really is. Because the boxing fan tends to run with whatever they hear, more so than any other fan, without thinking about it.
The ones who do think about it and realize it's all BS, for love of their favorite fighter, they'll endorse it for no other reason.
Like what you see with Ryan Garcia's fans.
I would love for Teofimo to get what he claims he wants. I would love for him to get the Crawford fight.
But the only reason he's calling for it is because he knows he won't get the Crawford fight. He's only calling for it because he knows it won't happen. Terence is going up to 154. You're still at 140.
Right.
Are you going to move up to fight him? Are you going to move up to 154?
You know the answer.
So when he does the rounds quite deliberately, on several podcasts, name-dropping Terence Crawford, do you know why he's really doing that? Because he's about to fight a guy that nobody knows.
So he's going to talk about fighting a guy that people do know, even if it's unrealistic.
It's pathetic, disingenuous, and I don't respect it.
Enough people have spent enough time trying to drag Terence Crawford's name in the mud. What he's doing right now is trying to become a 5-division champion. 5. What you're trying to do is sell a fight with a Canadian club fighter you shouldn't be fighting anyway.
And that's reality.